Uganda is one of the poorest nations in the world. You have this situation, especially with children go into labor force very early, women often uneducated, and here you have this situation where everything seemed to come together for Fiona to rise up out of this and use chess as an avenue out. When you sort of brought this story, how phenomenal of a story is that to see sort of all these obstacles working against this person because of their just where they are in life, to be able to work against that.
I think everything you say there is what makes the film and the story, I should say, so unique, so refreshing. Because the truth of the matter is, yes, there are real challenges in a country like Uganda, in the continent of Africa generally. But the human spirit is indomitable. And not only do you have all of those circumstances for the country of Uganda, but then you have the least of the least in terms of a girl in a slum in Uganda who sells corn and is illiterate. So you have an already challenged country with, like I say, the lowest of the low, because gender inequality is rife culturally there as well. And yet she rises from the ashes, and it's a true story. And it's an ongoing story. It's recent history. Our film goes from 2009 to 2012. And I've done other films, and I've seen other films that have come out of Africa, and they're all about the negative side of life, it would seem to me. Not that it's untruthful, but this is part of that continent's narrative as well.
One of the interesting parts of the film for me is sort of using chess as metaphor for life, and I think that works with films about sports or games, trying to tie it into how do these elements factor into how we can identify with them.
Right.
So when you're sort of working your way through it, how and I imagine you learned to play chess to a degree, if you hadn't already. What did you sort of, I guess, take from sort of how the two pieces managed to sort of come together, chess and the real world we live in?
Well, it taught me a lot. I'm not particularly patient as a person, and chess definitely requires that, because you have your end goal, which is to get to the king, but you have to think about what your opponent's likely to do. You have to read your opponent. You have to be aware that if you make rash, big moves early, you will get picked off and you're going to lose the game. You've got to think several moves ahead to anticipate what's coming, but to also keep your plan and your goal in focus. And I think for a child to be learning that through this game, not just literally for the game, but through life, when these obstacles and challenges that we've already talked about are facing you, then that equips you philosophically as to how to navigate those challenges. But for me, myself, at the age I am, it was really something to have to think about that, not only for the game but for life.
You've played real life people before in the past. Was it any different this time in your approach? Because once again, you have a book which is sort of the source material for the film. This person still is alive and exists, so I mean, you could touch them, talk to them, whatever, in order to sort of pick their brain. Does that in any way, I guess, restrict you in certain ways for exploring it as an actor, or is it just sort of other resources to go to as you create what is still very much a cinematic character?
Yeah, it's not good or bad, it's just different. I mean, I think if you're playing a political leader, there's a gravitas to that, and yes, you're relying on research that is more about footage and books and interviews and that kind of research, which is more cerebral in a sense. But with this, the challenge, especially with playing Robert, is he's an ordinary man doing extraordinary things, but that's also something that has its own challenges, because he's also a very, very good man, and you don't want that to come off as sanctimonious, and so that was something I had to really navigate. But it was amazing to have him right there with us. He is our chess consultant on the film, so my research was literally this living, breathing person who was right there to ask any questions, and thankfully he didn't tell me how to play him or correct me when he felt I was off track, because that would be the only disadvantage to having him right there. That would not be good.